Hello, good morning, everyone. Welcome to our Walla webinar. We are hopping on a minute or two early because this is actually our first webinar on our new platform. So just making sure everything is working. I had quite a fun technical snafu on our last one on Facebook Live, so now I'm scarred. We'll get started in just a minute, but actually, if you wouldn't mind, everybody who's on here, if you pop into the chat, which is on the right side column, can you just introduce yourself, please, and your name, your business, and where you're coming from? That would be really helpful and nice for you guys to see who you're surrounded by today in the webinar. Okay. Thanks, Susan. Hello. All right, so for those of you guys just joining, we are getting ready to start here, but if you wouldn't mind, once you're settled in and have your coffee, your tea, in the little chat side window on the right, please feel free to introduce yourself, your studio, and where you're coming from. And we will get going in just a moment. We have a lot of people registered for this, so I want to give everyone a moment to settle in. And just a quick note on this webinar platform, if you have to leave at any point, or if you're gonna, watch part of the webinar now and then, maybe you have a class or something else going on and you wanna watch the rest later, you can use the same link that you got in your email to come back to it at any time. And your email is now registered with this webinar. So anytime you wanna pop into our website and see the webinar library, which is a new tab in our website, you can do that. You can just use your email address and we see that you're registered. So super easy. Okay, well, let's get started. Thank you everyone who's joined us this morning. My name's Laura Munkholm and I am the president and one of the founders here at Walla. And if this is your first Walla webinar, this is a great one to be starting off with, especially kicking off 2024. We host these webinars every month, and this is something we've done since we started Walla because we are so excited about the expertise that people like Cat, who I'll be introducing in a moment, have in this industry. And we really want to offer resources that are going to be helpful in many different aspects and areas of the business. So it's not always specifically focused on Walla. It's typically an area of boutique studio management or boutique studio business. And yes, of course, we'll talk about some things in Walla, but there may be some of you who are on the call who are not using Walla yet, and most of you guys probably are. So feel free to ask questions as we go. And if there are technical questions about how to use Walla, if it's quick enough and we can fit it into the time, we'll definitely answer. But we can always sidebar afterwards and I can do follow-up, whether it's in our Facebook group or directly with you. But please do not hesitate to ask questions. We have this chat window on the side that I'll be watching during the presentation. And I think it's helpful when it's a little more conversational and we can really have practical application as we're going through the conversation. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce Cat Zbar. She is one of my favorite industry experts, and we've worked with Cat and her team very closely now for a couple of years. Some of you may have worked with her when you were onboarding with Walla. Many of you may have worked with her building out your journeys and automations in Walla as you got started with your marketing suite. But ultimately, Cat and her team are true experts in this industry's marketing and communication strategies. So I thought this would be a perfect way to kick off 2024 and really think about, from a big picture standpoint, holistically, how you can communicate with your clients and what's going to be the most effective. So Kat, thank you for being here. I will turn it over to you.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm going to hop right into the presentation.
Awesome.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Okay. Okay, cool. I think you can see my screen, right? I just don't want to have too many
Yep.
My tab's open here.
It is there.
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay, amazing. Okay, well, first things first, as Laura said, today I'm going to be diving into the top marketing automations for 2024 for something that I think as studio owners, you probably want to prioritize this year, which is client retention. Now, I hope that with today's presentation, you'll be able to have some really actionable takeaways. As Laura said, feel free to throw questions into the chat. Laura, interrupt me. It's a bit distracting for me to be looking as well at the questions. So just
I'll take care of watching it.
Okay, awesome. Okay, so Laura, thanks for that introduction. It's so great to be here. I love talking to the Walla community because you're all so engaged and so motivated, and you actually really appreciate the advice that we put together for you. So great to be here. As Laura kind of touched on, I'm the founder of Telomere Consulting, which is a boutique marketing agency for boutique fitness studios. So we provide business consulting on the one hand, but primarily to get you to a place where you can focus on your marketing. And so we provide an array of marketing services to studios in a variety of verticals: Pilates, bar, yoga, HIIT, spin, boot camp, martial arts, pole dancing. So we've really been through it all. The one channel that we love to work with is in the email marketing and communication space. The automations are really where we see the most success in terms of driving that client retention. Our ultimate goal is to help the studios that we work with thrive. So again, super excited to throw some tips your way today. So as I'm sure, sorry, the thing's a little bit slow. So I'm sure you all know, the what we're talking about today is a communication strategy. And one of the ways that one of the channels are through the automations. Now, I say automations high level because that's probably what most of you know the most commonly in terms of having these kinds of drip campaigns. In Walla specifically, we refer to them as journeys. So if you're already on Walla or are curious to learn more, in the platform, we call them journeys. So I'll use those terms intermittently. Now, communicating with your clients is definitely up there in terms of your studio best practices. It allows you to tell your story and build rapport and therefore loyalty and trust. It allows you to build community with your team, with your instructors, your clients, and it allows you to keep everyone in the know and engaged, which is, of course, going to increase retention and therefore sales. So this here is the foundation for successful marketing. Oopsies. So when we talk about automations, the benefits of taking the time to put these in place is for some of the reasons I've listed on this slide here. You want to automate your processes, whether it's your sales processes, your nurture processes, nurturing your leads, your clients, increasing your conversions, your sales, and maximizing ROI on everything that you're putting out there.
I like that you said take the time, because that is often the hesitation or the the hurdle that stands in the way of people really taking manual communication off their plate, or even starting to communicate, is just putting in a little bit of the effort on the front end to do it, which is time. So thanks for calling that out right away.
Yeah, absolutely. So the reason that Laura kind of touched on this earlier, but the reason that we're wanting to focus on this topic today is because January is such a great month to capitalize on that great New Year's energy, on that new motivation. So that's where you really want to make sure you have the foundations in place to convert as many of those new intro offers as possible, provide that motivation, and have that support, those automations support your in-person processes. So whether that's with obviously sales and just having a great year overall. Okay, so this graphic here, I'm sorry, the slides are a bit fidgety. So right here, before we dive into the actual automations, I wanted to share this slide because it shows the customer journey that you want to be creating as the foundation for your automation strategy. So when we're thinking about what channels to use and how to maximize impact, we really want to take a step back and understand the problem that we're solving for. So in the first instance, you'll have your prospects and you want to be capturing those at the awareness stage and taking them all the way through to convert those customers to become brand evangelists, brand ambassadors, so to speak. So the customer journey will be specific to your business model and to your studio. I always like to look at this in a circular way because we know that we always need to keep working to bring them back for more. So that's where your automations will help you support all your other channels that are working in conjunction with one another. So this graph really helps you use this kind of circular chart as a way to keep things moving and identify which automations you need to set up along the way. So this is another way of looking at it. So once you've kind of laid out your customer journeys, and again, I'm sorry for all these animations. So this is supposed to help you break up your customer journey so that you can then create a journey strategy from it, and your automations will then fall into each phase. So the way that we like to break it up is to have the prospect phase, so someone that's showing interest in becoming a member of your studio, and then becoming more aware and starting to want to potentially purchase something, whether that's an intro offer or first class free, whatever your business model is kind of wanting them to do, and then moving them into the second phase, which is more that retention phase. And that's where we're talking about retaining and converting them into from a drop-in or an intro to a class pack and ideally a membership. And then we have the phase 3, which is that nurture phase. And then phase 4 is the win back phase. So as an example, in the interest phase, you might have an automation that is targeting individuals that have created a profile but not purchased anything else, right? So those leads, or maybe they've completed an interest form for some kind of event that you might have, and so you want to bring them in through there. And on the membership side, as an example, you might want to welcome someone to a membership as a way to retain them, highlighting the perks that you're offering and making sure that they're taking full advantage of what they've just signed up for. Again, these are all going to be specific to your studio, but it really helps to lay out, okay, which automations do I need? Which ones are going to be the most helpful in driving that conversion, and then in retaining those people, similarly in bringing lost customers back into your business and keeping them in that phase 2 and 3 cycle. So hopefully this slightly different graphic is helpful in that. So if you're not already won over in terms of why it's important to have automations, there are a few examples on the screen here. It helps save you tons of time. It allows you to scale because it means that you're not having to manually track where every individual is at every point in time. The beauty of the automation and why it's really important to have them be in the software proper is because it is completely integrated to visit and purchase behavior. So it's going to be sending out those automations to specific audiences that are triggered by certain actions that every single individual client may or may not be taking in your business. And so it's obviously saving time. It's saving the opportunity, it's removing the opportunity for human error, and it's also allowing you to focus on those gaps in that customer journey graphic we looked at for the in-person, where that in-person is going to have the most impact. So again, with the automations, you're ensuring consistency in your communication. It's creating a reliable follow-up, so you're not leaving any opportunity on the table. It's capturing lost clients back in a way that's kind of it's reliable and it's consistent. So you're not going to be calling someone every week because you want to remind them that they should get back on their mat if you have a yoga studio. And so what the automation allows you to do is it allows you to literally create a journey for them to go down, where you are maybe providing some testimonials, you are providing some different reasons why it might be time for them to come check out your classes again. Maybe things have changed either with them or with you. That is a reason for them to want to come back. And you never really know at what point someone's going to feel that they're going to have that aha moment where they're going to actually take you up on that. So having those multiple touch points is really helpful. We need at least 8 to 9 different touch points, either for someone to come visit our studio for the first time or to come back. And everybody is different in terms of what kind of information and they're going to be responsive to. So again, it allows you to tailor your messaging. It encourages higher engagement with your content overall, which is great. We're not really talking about newsletters today, but when there are newsletters going out on a regular basis and the journeys are also set up in conjunction with one another, we've seen a direct correlation in sales there. So there are definitely various reasons why it makes sense to have these set up.
Yeah. One quick call out I was going to throw in here, and just another benefit to having this all under one roof and really having, like Kat called out, the specific visit behavior or lack of visit behavior, purchase behavior or lack of purchase behavior. I have many times gone through, just to kind of see how many I have gone through my Gmail and typed in "we miss you," or what I know the titles of automated emails from other platforms are. And I will literally have a full page of the exact same email from 20 different studios that I've gone to, word for word, except for the name of the studio or the graphic at the top. So having the same email go out to everybody all the time is really not going to be effective. It becomes white noise to anybody who's receiving it, if they even stay subscribed with you. And so we often hear these complaints about, like, how do we keep people subscribed to our content? And the answer to that is make it personal. And so when you can, Kat's going to talk about this, but one of those massive benefits to having the visit and the purchase behavior and the specific actions that individual's taking in your business is that you can tailor the messaging, tailor the content, and they do feel like it's for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. One of the more opened automations are the first visit text automations. And that's when you are reaching out to someone who's visited your studio for the first time ever. And it's, you can create it in such a way that it feels absolutely, personalized to them. Right. The tip there is to make the question very open-ended so that you're really encouraging that conversation. How did you find it? How are you feeling? And the types of responses that come from those messages are always really surprising to me. People really open up, especially because you can also you can control at what time they go out. So if you're sending that check-in message an hour after someone's done a class for the first time, you're catching them in that really more vulnerable moment where maybe they've still got the endorphins flowing. And so if you are able to capture that moment and have them associate to that experience some kind of feeling, that's what's going to create a memory that will then make it more likely that they will return, because they will associate a positive experience with visiting your studio. And so those are all the kind of amazing things that can happen with automations where if done in a very strategic way, you can really impact a person's experience at your studio and also control the culture and the values and the vibe that you want to emit. So that's why we are super passionate about bringing together the technology with the boutique fitness space, because it's all about building community. And with these types of emails, you can really hone in on that in a way that doesn't feel like it's overkill.
Yeah.
And on that, this is a slide that, you know, you can also apply a few of these tips to newsletters. They're kind of best practices for email communication across the board. But one of the things that we really like to focus on is making sure that from a tone and voice standpoint, from a visual standpoint, there's consistency. And it's that consistency that's going to create familiarity. It's that familiarity that's going to build community, and it's that community building that's going to drive sales. I know that sounds a little bit like, you know, counterintuitive, but it is, you know, that is what we're trying to do here. And we're trying to do it in a way that gives us time back. And thanks to softwares like Walla, we're able to do that in a way that feels really authentic and organic. So in terms of best practices, really quick, frequency is really something people struggle a lot with. Now, obviously with journeys, it doesn't land in quite the same way because it is going to initially trigger who you're sending it out to. But one thing to just keep in mind across the board is that most people do want to hear more from you as a result of being subscribed and engaging with your business. By definition, they are wanting to hear from you. And so you shouldn't necessarily feel like you are annoying them. That's something that a lot of studios comes to us with. Okay, but we're afraid to overdo it. The secret to that fear is to make sure that you have a really specific purpose for that email, that email has a really clear call to action, that email feels customer centric. A lot of the communications that you might send out is going to make sense internally, but it's not necessarily going to be the case externally. And what that means is Laura sees "we miss you" emails. Maybe you've set them up to go out 30 days after someone hasn't visited your studio for the first time. Well, I can guarantee that that person isn't counting how many days it's been since they last visited your studio. So you saying something like, it's been 30 days since we last saw you, they don't care about that. So thinking about, okay, so what's the purpose here? You want to get them back into your classes because they were a great fit, and maybe they had a baby and now they're just getting back to their workout, to their regular routine. What is going to get them back? Is it maybe knowing that you have a variety of classes at different times that is going to fit into their new schedule? Is it that you have maybe more restorative type class? I keep using a yoga studio as an example, but maybe you have more restorative type classes that will help them ease back into it. So really thinking about, okay, how is what I'm trying to get them to do going to benefit them? And that's ultimately going to feel like it's not annoying, and like it will perform better. In Walla, one of the great things you can do is to layer the text messages with the email. So you can do one or the other or both. So knowing that you can do that, but then also factoring in any face-to-face calls, any interaction in person, and layering that into the rest of your multi-marketing approach is going to be the most effective when it comes to emailing. So keeping in mind that whatever is on your social is going to be similar from a branding and consistency standpoint with whatever's going out by email, so that again you can be really building that cultural piece. The personalizing the messages is really important. One, using merge tags as a way to just kind of you can throw in their first name. These are very easy to do with the templates and all of that. So if anyone wants to see what that looks like, throw it in the chat, and I'm sure Laura or I can show you if you're interested. Okay, again, best practices for journeys specifically. So this is for the automations piece, sending out every 3 to 5 days. You definitely want to get someone back into the studio within the first 3 days of visiting for the first time. So it's always going to be starting at 3 days and then every 2 days after that. Alternating between short and long form. Again, maybe some people are going to resonate more with more graphic content versus more of a storytelling type concept. So varying it up so that you're really hitting all the different kinds of learning, how people absorb information, kind of like a love language, but with and having a thoughtful subject line. So again, don't be afraid to personalize the subject line, getting creative, being a little bit kind of, I don't want to say clickbaity, but luring them with something interesting.
Do you use emojis in your emails much?
Yeah, so it's funny. There was a study that just came out last week from Flowdesk. I don't know if some of you are familiar. It's a marketing platform, and they basically said that it was half-half whether emojis actually impact open rates or not. I personally I don't like to overdo it. It's a personal preference. I think whether or not you use emojis in your email comms should be answered by whether or not it's on brand. So if you have a more playful, fun brand, then emojis obviously makes more sense. If you are more of, I don't know, focused on courses and trainings and certifications, and you want to be a little bit more prestigious in that sense, then maybe emojis would not necessarily be right for you all the time. But I think what emojis does is it helps break up the text. So if you do have information, it helps either take your eye to that, or it helps kind of to add a little color in there. So I like them, but it's, Do you use emojis, Laura?
I do. I like them in emails more than in subject lines, because I feel like my email inbox now, especially it feels like it's going to be a sales email when I see a lot of emojis in a subject line now. I think it's kind of become this, like the pendulum swung a little too far, and now there's like 27 fire emojis when I open my, email inbox, and it's like hot sale, so it tends to feel a little bit more like a sales gimmick to me in subject lines. But I agree, in an email, especially if it's just a text email, it breaks up the text and it draws your eyes to something. And because people are so commonly just looking for bullet points and just going to scan things now, if there's something that's really critical that you want them to see, drawing the attention there, that's where I like emojis.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's a good point. I mean, shorter is obviously going to be better and punchier. So the more concise you can be, the better. There's a fine balance there that you need to find, because if you are being too brief, it is veering on too salesy, because ultimately, if they've created a profile and they haven't purchased and you want them to purchase your intro offer, ultimately let's be honest, you just want them to buy the intro offer. So it's kind of finding that right balance. And sometimes, sometimes you just need to find the right balance. And that's why testing is nice, and why you can add multiple touch points to your journeys and see which ones are performing better. So you can have, you have access to analytics per touch point, which is helpful. Some email platforms only give you analytics for the whole journey. And so then it makes it harder to know which emails perform better than others.
Yeah. We have a question from Jamie on hours that are acceptable for text. So in Walla right now, for those of you that haven't been using text, I think our window is 7 a.m. until it might be 10 p.m. I can't remember if it's 8 or 10 p.m., but it's later in the evening. We actually were going to put up a poll because we have some people that wanted extended hours like that. That is why we extended it to what we did. We have some people like Jamie, which right now she's saying she feels like that's 7 a.m. is too early, so she doesn't want to text that early. Do you have any advice there? What would your guidance be?
Yeah, that's a great question. I treat text timings in the same way that I treat email times. The reason being that I personally have seen that people are engaging with their emails or their text messages for things that are extracurricular at around the same times. If you're in the middle of your working day and you get a text message from your yoga studio, you might either just see it and ignore it and forget about it, or it might feel like it's invading you at a time when you're being productive and not in that mindset. So I do like the mornings and the evenings as a general rule, or kind of that lunchtime slot. But nowadays I feel like lunch is kind of on the go for a lot of people. Just so
Who gets lunch? Wait, what's that? Kidding, sorry.
yeah, no, I was saying I actually don't mind to not take lunch because I'm just
Yeah.
snacking the whole day anyways.
Yeah.
But I don't mind the morning or the evening. And of course, if it's too late, I mean, most people nowadays, I would say, especially if they're in your community and they have an awareness of, mental health, well-being, they are probably going to be, putting their phone on airplane mode, or they have do not disturb features on. And so they're not necessarily going to get hit at 10 p.m.
Right.
I think 10 p.m. person is a bit late. I would do it in that 7 to 9 a.m., 7 to 9 p.m. window. That's when we see that emails perform the best as well.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, Fridays are a great day. It seems that Fridays have become this kind of, I mean, this is obvious, but from a working week standpoint, Fridays have definitely become more of a download day. I'm hearing more and more it's when people don't have meetings. And so that might be a time when you can get a little bit more, be a bit more flexible with the timings. It's back to that Flowdesk study that was performed on all emails that were sent out in 2023. Friday was the day with the highest open rates for email and text
Wow.
message. And
Interesting.
yeah, and I think for studios as well, because the weekend is a time when you might want to bring someone in, that's a nice kind of, it's short enough that it's saying, hey, we come, we check out our schedule, and then they might come to a class Saturday. They might be more likely to come to a class the weekend as
That
opposed to
weekend.
if you send it on Monday or Tuesday.
Cool.
Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, that was really helpful. And Jamie, we were considering doing a poll on ours, so that is we're probably going to keep the 7 a.m. because that does seem to be a really a time where there are a lot of opens, but also or a lot of opens and responses, but also looking into the evening 10 is probably a little late. Maddie has a question really quickly, technically on Walla. If someone starts out unsubscribed, but then we get them to subscribe, do they then get the journey? So the answer is yes, they do. Every hour when we run basically the scripts that say, who's eligible for this journey right now. So does this person fall into this audience? It's essentially updated every hour. And if that person subscribes and then they are in the right audience to get that journey at that time, they won't get the earlier ones because they're probably not at day 4 or day 1 or haven't taken a class yet, but maybe they're midway through the journey and they'll get the next one that they're eligible for. So the answer to that is yes. It just matters what they're eligible for at that moment. And as soon as we see subscribe, they pop into the eligibility bucket.
Yeah. Okay, so the must-have journeys for 2024. I pulled out 8 of the ones that we are seeing to be the most effective, and the ones that if you're going to start anywhere, it's to, copy off this list or print off this list and cross them off one by one. It really is going to help you with maximum engagement and retention to have all of these set up. I've kind of listed them in order of kind of back to the customer journey circle, in kind of that order. But again, you can start building them out if you haven't built any journeys out based on where you think you have the lowest hanging fruit. Before your first visit, we talked about the text message being really helpful after the first visit. However, before the first visit is really setting up your people for success. So letting them know all the things. It's the most opened journey automation of them all. It is telling them where to park, if there is parking, what to wear, what to expect. You have to really consider that it might be someone totally new, super intimidated, doesn't feel comfortable at all, but is still doing it, to the most seasoned of pros, and kind of finding that middle balance so that you're speaking and catering to all of your ideal client types. So what that means is thinking through, okay, what do most of my client types, and we talk about avatars a lot when we're building out the customer journey, because knowing, to the earlier question, when makes sense to send out, what kind of information, how many emojis should we throw in there, what kind of what are we trying to convey? And so having that under the umbrella of your branding, and then thinking about who you're speaking to, what is the information that's going to be most important to them, and making sure that that's really clear. I like to have this email, even if it's on the longer side, have its little subsections where it's super clear what to expect, what to bring. We've had sauna and ice baths businesses where we really need to tell them, hydrate after. A lot of things that are actually very important for people to know. So before your first visit is a great one. It's going to ensure that they have a good time, which then means that they'll come back. The intro offer upsell. So during the intro offer, depending on the length of your intro offer, being mindful that you're not overdoing it on touch points and that you're not underdoing it. So of course, the length of your journey is going to be different if your intro offer is a 3-class pack versus a 30-day, as an example. First visit conversion to intro. So you have a first visit guest pass option. If you're already in Walla, you just FYI that the drop-in conversion to intro will be a separate journey to the first visit guest pass to intro. But all this, that semantics kind of, for the purpose of this conversation, it's more making sure that that first visit person, if they haven't come in with your intro offer, you may want to consider having that as an option so that they can get a good feel for your studio. This is obviously on the basis that your intro offer is set up to pull them through into the most ideal pricing option. So whatever you want them to do next, you can then kind of control that journey a little bit more. Win backs, nurturing lost clients back into the sales funnel. That's something that we need to be working on at all times, and just having that working in the background is essential. Keeping an eye as well on how those win backs are performing. A lot of people will set up their win backs and not really try and test different things. And then it just so happens that the incentives aren't really working, or their 1-year win back is working better than their 60-day win back. And so just having a very more kind of nimble approach to win backs will be really helpful moving forward this year, because people are changing how they are consuming fitness and movement. They're more likely to have a few class packs at a few different places. And so making sure that you're staying top of mind and helping them understand how you can be part of that routine is going to be really helpful.
Can I just ask a quick question on winbacks? That's something that has come up multiple times, that people, our clients, have said, hey, we've had the same basically 30, 60, 90 winback timeframes. Are those even the right windows? Should we be talking to people way sooner? Is that too soon? How do we really get nimble? Or should we be giving them access to the video on demand library day, whatever, that if they haven't been in for a class? Do you have any more specifics there that you could go into with best practices?
Yeah, for sure. So You first want to start off by looking at how long your intro offer upsell extends. So oftentimes we will be trying to upsell them something else after the intro offer, and we just kind of keep asking them and keep asking them and keep trying to convince them. You want to make sure that that is kind of meeting the where the win back starts. So if we are operating on the basis that someone has visited 4 times in 1 month, they are in that middle cusp of being a potential convert versus low risk. So anything under 4 visits is typically a higher risk situation where you're worried that they won't come back. So you'll want to factor in how many times you're reaching out to them after the intro offer if they haven't converted,
Right.
how many times they visited during that intro offer. So that in itself should have some kind of 2 different audiences, paths. And then when the win backs come into play, you want to use the information from the intro offer upsell to know when to start your win backs, because after 3 weeks of you not buying anything after you completed your intro offer, that is probably already a flag that you're not going to be purchasing anything, readily all by yourself without a little nudge or without some convincing. And so I like to think that that window needs to have communication. And often what we'll see is that people will try and upsell their intro offer. The intro offer upsell journey ends, and then gap between there and the 30-day win back. And in that sweet spot, you're losing out on opportunity to get people back. And that's the sweet spot where you want to have a phone call out to the person. You want to maybe reach out with a text message to really understand, hey, is there anything we can do to bring you back? And that's where you want to bring in the some kind of special discount. Lately, what we're seeing working really well is, hey, Laura, I dropped a couple extra class credits in your account. Make sure that you come back, and that can sometimes help because they just needed a few more, depending on where they were at or what experience they had in the intro offer period for whatever reason, they just need a couple more sessions. Now, in terms of win back best practices, you want to segment them out so that they are targeting people based on what types of classes they did or didn't do, what types of pricing options they did or didn't buy, because that's going to impact just how personalized you can make it. Right. So if you were a member that only ever came for the power vinyasa at 7 a.m. that no longer is on the schedule, then I know that, and with Walla, we can get very creative because we have great information about client types. But though segmenting the win backs to not be so blanket is going to help us have a better shot at winning people back, and also having better data about, okay, who are the people coming to our studio? What do they want? And why are they leaving? Because if all of a sudden we've changed the schedule, we lost a bunch of people, and those people aren't coming back, it's probably for, it's probably for a reason.
Yeah, that's really helpful. I think one thing I often hear is like, why would we build this such a specific email that's going to go out to such a small group of people? And that's kind of the point, right? Like, set a goal for yourself to write 2 emails a week for a journey, or like build a journey a week for the next 6 months, and just see how a year from now, how much work is taken off your plate. And yeah, maybe that's only going to send to 5 people a month, but those 5 people a month are probably all going to open that email. And the likelihood of them taking action on it is exponentially higher because it is written for them.
Yeah, and not to add in a shameless plug in any way, but the reason that we have come to do this for studios is because it requires strategy and time and thinking things through and really getting into the weeds of the KPIs to understand where are the opportunities. And again, not to, it does take time, but it is worth it, I guess, is the bottom line.
Yeah. Chantel had a quick question. Is there a way to flag a client so they don't get a certain automation? So for an example, they have a client who's not going to be coming to class because they're on vacation for the next 3 months. So really, there isn't a way to pull them out of the automation, like the audience. It will catch them because of their behavior. What you can do is unsubscribe that person. Like if you have a person that you know you don't want to get communication for a certain amount of time, when you unsubscribe them, that will take them out of the audience or eligibility for that audience. So I don't know. That's the only solution I have right now for that.
Yeah, one other workaround that is totally fine and people don't care about at all is if it's something that's going to impact quite a few people for a specific amount of time, if it's the summer or whatever, you can literally add temporarily to those touch points. P.S. If this doesn't apply to you, just ignore, or something kind of cute and friendly that just says, hey, we know you're away, but you're still getting these. Yeah. Don't worry about it. And people are super understanding about it. Okay, so I have some examples of a few journeys and what they can look like. They are just kind of, I've just wanted to show you actually to what extent you can personalize your templates in Walla to make them on brand, to make them really specific to what you're trying to tell them. They all look different. We always recommend that you have branded headers, branded footers, where possible, use your colors consistently, use your logo, have your social links, make the call to action really clear and specific. And yeah, I just find that having some visual examples always helps. Any questions now? Okay, so I've included a few journey examples on the next couple slides. This is really just to give you an idea of what it can look like. So a little just kind of best practice tip at the very top, have the title be super clear, and then have the automations themselves, like the touch points themselves, have clear titles so that you kind of nothing. It's just to keep you
organized and sane. Yeah.
Keep you organized and aligned with what you're trying to do. We like to put, which days what is going out, so that then we can keep track of that. And this is what it can look like when they're all enabled. So again, these will all look different depending on what you're building and what you're trying to do. But yeah, those were just some examples. And that kind of brings me to the end of the presentation.
Awesome. One quick thing I wanted to call out could you go back a couple slides to the visuals of the emails, if you don't mind?
Yes.
Yeah. These ones? So yeah, one thing I love about this, guys, and that I have read over and over in many different email platform best practices, is not having 6 different buttons that you have to click in an email, or like a number of call to actions. 1 or 2 is the most. Like if you want someone to take action in an email, try to limit the number of things you're asking them to take action on. And it's a great excuse. If you have a bunch of different programs that you're running, cool. Narrow the audience that you're sending those to the people who are going to be most interested, and then send the specific email to those people that might be interested in the, whatever, full moon dance party versus somebody who might be interested in a, brand new client beginners session. So you don't have to have everything in one email. Oh, Jamie, we did answer your question. It's back in the recording, but yeah, 7 a.m. is fine. It's really like I'll do a poll on this, but we see Cat was explaining prime open times are like 7 to 9 a.m. before work hours and then after work hours. So people get more frustrated with being pinged during a work day than they do prior to work and after work. So that's the reason we have the hours set the way we do, but we can definitely do a poll with the Walla community and find out if we need to make that 7:30 to 7:30 p.m. We can definitely work around that.
Yeah, so a lot of these questions do have answers that are specific to your studio. So I've included a QR code for a free 30-minute strategy call if anyone wants to ask us any studio specific, or even if you want us to come into your platform and have a look, answer any questions. There's definitely a lot that goes into setting up the automations, and then there's a lot of maintenance as well. And that can, and just even understanding, are these performing well? And these answers are, unfortunately, like, as much as I've tried to pull out information that will be helpful to as many people as possible, a lot of the answers are specific to your studio. So feel free to reach out, follow us, all that good stuff. I know that the Walla community has a lot of great resources as well. So we just want to make sure you build your journeys.
Yay. I know. And that is the number one thing I want to get across with this webinar. Thank you for everybody sticking around this long. Is just do something. Like, it is better to have something sending out than waiting for perfection. So write the 3 emails, write the 5 emails, pick the 3 of the ones on her list and just get the copy done. You've got ChatGPT inside of Walla. It can write the copy for you. A few good brand photos go a long way. Just get something firing. There is a tremendous amount of engagement that can be happening automated behind the scenes without you doing any work on a day-to-day basis. So, I think maybe you find an accountability buddy in the Walla Facebook group and you guys want to share the emails that you write once a week or something like that over the next month or two, but find a way to really make this an important part of 2024, because as consumers, we are all more distracted than ever, and keeping attention, keeping engagement is not an easy task, and it's going to take communication and effort. So thank you. Please take advantage of Cat's offer here. She and her team are fantastic. It's not just Cat. She has a group of incredible experts on marketing and the boutique fitness industry. And we are happy, as always, to chat with you guys via support or to do some more trainings like this. I know there have been requests for more trainings. I'm actually secretly behind the scenes building a full marketing suite course on Walla, which will be done at some point soon. So you guys will have more and more resources going into this year. But thank you to everyone. Great to have you here. And again, if you stepped away at any point and you need to watch more of this, you can just use the link you'll see on our website now. We have a webinars tab, and all of the webinars will be hosted there from here on out. So you can always go back and watch. Thanks so much, guys.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, great to see everyone. Bye-bye.